Okay. So stock turnover or turnover is your turnover for a particular period of time as to how fast your stock in relation to your sales is being replenished. So to maintain a healthy planned sales, you need to have the appropriate amount of stock. Obviously, we don't want very less stocks or a lot of stock, because if it is less, then you're going to lose in terms of lost sales. So we want to make sure that you plan for the amount of stocks as much in relation to your sales. And again, as the other elements of merchandise plans are, we see that these generally are based on these are generally based on last year's figures. So one of the things, so our monthly sales are planned, and we generally have our beginning of month stock or end of month stocks are determined based on how and what things need to be bought or purchased. And generally, you would have differences in how your fashion and basic product assortments are planned. Remember, most as we did our calculation of base of our BOM stock using the stock to sales ratio method, we used stocks to sales ratio, and which is generally used for planning your fashion merchandise. If it is basic stock, we would use the basic stock method for basic product purchases, which would be what we'll be discussing today. And and I'm going to skip over this slide. Um, Turnovers can be calculated both in dollars and units, and generally, as we discussed before, represent the degree of balance between sales and stock, um, and indicates how fast or slow is your stock moving from your department. And it could be calculated for a month, quarter, season, or a year. It is different in terms of stock to sales ratio. You might have a question. That's what we were doing for stock to sales as well. Generally, turnovers are calculated for a period of time, a longer period of time, just to know an average or looking at the overall health of the department and how their purchasing is happening. So let's just go ahead and look at this one, which is the formula for turnover is net sales divided by average retail stock for that same period. So can you guys quickly tell me, what do you think is the turnover if the net sales was 2 million and the average retail stock is 500,000? You can put it in the chat window. Absolutely, it is 4. Very easy, but you'll just have to remember the formula. Great. And the same exact formula, we flip it around. If we didn't know, remember, out of the 3, you want to find, if you know if you know 2, you can find the third one. So you flip the formula for looking at average retail stock, which would be planned sales divided by the turnover. So I think it would be, what do you think is the average retail stock with the given figures? Okay, I'm going back on one slide really quick. Does that help, Mara? I see most of you have gotten 800,000. Right, right. Right. So now the first method of calculating our average retail stock was using this formula right here, what we just did, which you guys did a problem, right? The second method of calculating your average retail stock would be sum of beginning inventory. So that would be sum of beginning of month inventories plus end of month for the last month divided by number of inventories. So I want you to remember, so there are two methods of calculating your average stock. The first method was planned sales divided by turnover. The second method is going to be sum of all the BOMs plus end of month of the last month divided by number of inventories. So for example, if this was, I know it looks really big, don't get scared, but this is for an entire year, and this is your sales, this is your BOM stock for all the 12 months, and then there is a January EOM. So when you're calculating the average retail stock for and the turnover for this period, what you're going to do is sum of all the BOMs, which was all of these, which is 342,000, plus ending inventory only of January divided by 13. And how did we get this 13 is because there were 12 inventories plus one, which was the end of month of January. That's how we got 13. So you get your average retail stock. Are we all doing okay?
Yes.
Okay. Everybody following? Right. Great. So now we have our average retail stock. How do we find our um, how do we find our turnover? So your total sales is 63,800. I mean, not this was calculated, only these numbers were given to you. This is calculated figure. So given this is your net sales and your average retail stock is 28,000, how much do you think is the stock turnover? So 28,000 is your average retail stock, and your net sales for the entire period is 63,800. What is your annual turnover? Right. Got that turnover rate as 2.28. Okay. I'm going to skip this slide. I want you to go over that later. But now, as we discuss about setting beginning or calculating beginning of month stock using the basic stock method, the first method which we discussed was stock to sales ratio method, and the second one which we are going to discuss today is basic stock method. Both have implications on how you plan your stock depending upon what merchandise your department deals in. So if it is basic stock method is, as the name suggests, it is good for basic merchandise like socks, or let's say tank tops, very basic. The demand is not going to have huge peaks or lows. It's going to be constant for most of the time. So what it suggests is the amount of basic stock on a monthly basis is almost the same. It wouldn't change. Um, um, that and that's how you would calculate your BOM stock. Okay. Um, so what we do in a basic stock method is we first start calculating our average stock. Let's say if turnover is given, we will do it by sales divided by turnover. Let's say for this problem, you're going to do sales divided by turnover to get you your average stock. The second method would be calculating your average monthly sales. If it is for a season, then you divide your total sales divided by 6 to get your average monthly sales. Everybody okay? I'm going to check the chat if you have any questions. Okay. Once you calculate your average monthly sales, the third step would be calculating your basic stock, which is average stock minus the average monthly sales. So it's the difference of averages between your stock and monthly sales gives you your basic stock. Once you calculate your basic stock, as you're calculating BOM stock for any month, you take basic stock plus the planned sales for that particular month. Okay. So I'm going over it again. So you first calculate your average stock, which is your total sales divided by 10. Average monthly sales. In case of a season, you're going to divide it by 6. If in case of a year, you're going to divide it by 12. Then you calculate your basic stock by doing average stock minus average monthly sales, which gives you your basic stock. And then to calculate your BOM stock, you take basic stock plus planned sales for the month. It's a 4-step process. So as you think about basic stock method, think about these 4 steps. So do you want to take a try at that problem? Go ahead and try that problem using the steps which we did. So the first thing is average stock, which will be equal to total sales divided by the turnover. Calculate the average stock and tell me how much that would be. Savannah, you said 16,000. I don't think that is right. So you're going to calculate all the sales, monthly sales, and then divide it by 2 to get your average stock. 96,000 seems correct unless Savannah had a typo. Go ahead and calculate average monthly sales. When you add up all the sales, it comes up to 192,000 divided by 6. You would get 32,000, which most of you did get it. So now step 3 would be calculating your basic stock, which is average stock minus average monthly sales. So go ahead and calculate your basic stock. Yes, the basic stock is 64,000. So now go ahead and calculate the monthly sales for, let's do August and January. Just separate it by a comma when you're responding. I see only one response in the chat. Did everybody get how to do it? So once you get your basic stock, you add that basic stock number to your monthly sales. You're going to get different numbers each time because your monthly sales are going to change, but your basic stock is not going to change. Sorry, Mara, and if anybody I confused, I said just calculate the BOM stock for August and January, which meant that you were going to calculate just the August and January. I didn't mean to combine them, sorry. So hopefully that clarifies your doubt after seeing this slide where you will take the basic stock plus the monthly sales for each month. Okay, is everybody done or are you still working on it? Okay, great. So let's see what I have. Okay, so let's do some problems. These are the problems which I specified in our in the announcements. So go ahead and do this problem very quickly and keep updating on the chat for answers. So that's problem number 22 in your textbook. Is everybody able to see the new screen share? Okay, I'm guessing yes. Please do use your calculators and calculate. As you work through, please make sure that you're calculating and not just guessing or looking over your peers' answers. Okay, so yes, we got that right. So number 26, if you can go ahead and do that as well. Okay, right. This is problem number 30. Remember, you will do this one with the second method which we talked about. So number of inventories, so beginning of month plus end of month divided by number of inventories will give you your average retail stock. Zero 0.31 seems correct. Maura, you may need to work on. So if you're getting stuck, let's look at the solution once. So you calculate your average stock by adding up both the beginning of month stock, end of month stock for October, and then I divided it by 2 because I have 2 inventories. I get my average stock, and to calculate my turnover, I will do sales divided by average stock, in which case, in this case, it is 0.31. Okay, great. This is very similar to the previous one, but it is 6 months. So these are your beginning of month inventories from August to January. The end of month for January is 32,000. And these are your sales figures from August through January. This is problem number 34 in your textbooks. So to calculate your average retail stock, you're going to take all these BOMs plus your EOM divided by 7, which will give you your average stock. Before we move on, I want you to do problem number 36 in your textbooks on page number 255. Yes, those answers look correct. 36,001.33. Okay, great. So let's go ahead and do the last problem for today, for this session. It's problem number 62 in your book. The first step, calculate your average stock. Then you calculate your average monthly sales. Did I do something wrong? My average monthly sales are different. Savannah, you had me there. I went back, checked the problem again if I did something wrong. And that's what I want you to be careful of, that for this one, the average monthly sales, think about it. You have 6 months and you're trying to find the average for that 6 months. So you don't have to divide it by 7. That 7 figures comes only when you're calculating average retail stock by the second method. Okay. No, Mara. You use 6 if it is for a season and you're doing your average monthly sales. Stock and sales are completely different. If you're doing your average retail stock, if you're calculating average retail stock by the second method, which is sum of beginning inventories plus sum of plus the end of month inventory divided by the number of inventories. And if that happens to be a season, then you divide it by 7 because you have 6 BOMs plus 1 EOM. Average monthly sales for a season is always going to be divided by 6 because there's 6 months. Everybody's still working on the problem. Okay. If you're done and if you did get 42,980, that's great. I want you to go ahead and do number 66. 66. Very similar to this one. So remember, if you had to do a basic stock method, oops, what did I do? If you had to do basic stock method, this is your step 1, step 2, step 3, and step 4. So this is what you're going to do if you're going to calculate BOM stock using the basic stock method. Want you to do problem number 66 on page number 274. Yep, 60,000 is correct. Okay, couple of things before we wrap up this class. One, this week I'm planning to have more Zoom sessions just for the purposes of doing um, merchandise plans. And again, we can choose to, um, you guys do it and I'll be there, because your final exam is going to be a merchandise plan and some problems. Your merchandise plan is going to be either basic stock or stock to sales ratio method. It will be on Excel. It will not be something which you're calculating. So you will turn in an Excel sheet. Um, and some problems for open to buy. Now, the other important update I would say is I am not going to have do chapter 6 because for chapter 6 we will need in-person instruction. It's very difficult to understand that chapter um, online. So I'm going to go away with chapter 6. So we'll be concentrating on chapter 5 and merchandise plans. So for the next 2 weeks, we will rigorously work on many merchandise plans, and I'm hoping that you will work on that too. So I will be posting the problems and keep you informed as to what we're going to do the Zoom meeting. And you need to be working on those Excel sheets and submitting it as well. So be prepared to work on Excel sheets, because that's how your exams are going to be. For today's lab, we will be working on problem number 3, and then I will also post one more problem for you to do on Excel sheet and submit both these sheets on Canvas for today's lab. Um, and so your quiz for chapter 6 will not be open. I will close the chapter 6 quiz. And also, um, homework will not include chapter 6. So you will just do your math assignment based on chapter 5, um, and submit it. So for your merchandise plans, for your math assignment, what you're going to do is going to show all your work by hand. So the Excel part is different, but you're going to do um, um, the calculations for your merchandise plans by hand, how your math assignment specifies. Questions? And I will update this as announcements as we go. I think we lost some of them, so I'm not sure if everybody was here. Okay, if you don't have any questions, okay. Will we be missing something that we did not, you need to know for our jobs by learning chapter 6? I wouldn't say, obviously it is important for you to know, but I wouldn't say that is as crucial, if you may. The first part of chapter 6 is discounts, which you guys have already kind of learned in AIM 270 about trade discounts and different types of discounts. The second part, which I would have loved for you, for us to work on, was the dating terms. Those are negotiating terms, and I wouldn't say it's as much of a problem, if you may. You can learn that on a job, and I'm happy to schedule some sessions if you think that. And my plan was to teach it next semester, maybe request your capstone teachers and see if I can teach that. But I know that some of you are graduating. And if you do want to work on that chapter, I'm happy to go over with you. But it is just something which I feel an in-person instruction is required because it gets confusing after a certain point of time. And the lab will be due tomorrow.